Over the last 30 years, most sub-Saharan African economies have become steadily freer. However, a new edition of the Economic Freedom in the World report found that the region's positive steps towards freer and more open economies are beginning to falter. This is problematic because for decades, numerous academics have demonstrated that freer economies tend to be richer, grow faster, and score better across almost all metrics of global well-being than their less free counterparts. A declining economic freedom score regrettably means millions of Africans will likely become worse off. The apparent correlation between economic freedom and global well-being is stunning. The freest 25% of nations in the EFW report, when adjusted for purchasing power, have average incomes more than 7.3 times higher than average incomes in the least free 25%. In the least free economies, almost 31% of the population lives in extreme poverty, compared to just 2% in the freest states. In addition, the EFW report also found that economic freedom was positively correlated with longer life expectancy, lower infant mortality rates, and higher rates of school enrollment. Between 1990 and 2019, the level of economic freedom in sub-Saharan Africa was on a steady upward trajectory, rising from an appalling 4.74 to a low but more respectable 6.25 out of 10 in the EFW report. With this increasing freedom, the lives of millions of Africans improved. Per capita income rose, life expectancy increased, infant mortality fell, and the proportion of the population with a secondary education more than doubled. Yet according to this year's EFW report, more than 23 sub-Saharan African countries found themselves in the least free quartile of countries. Economic powerhouses like Nigeria and South Africa both moved in an unfree direction, and the region's overall economic freedom declined for the first time in several years. The EFW report uses 5 components to give each state in the index an overall score, and one component of economic freedom, where sub-Saharan Africa scores particularly poorly, is in freedom to trade internationally. If sub-Saharan Africa was a country, its freedom to trade internationally score would rank a meager 123rd in the world, several places below socialist Venezuela. This low score can be attributed to the fact that for decades African governments have been duped by the false promise of trade protectionism. Special interest groups across the continent continue to hold immense power and are regularly successful in persuading governments to dole out subsidies to their particular industry, put up trade barriers to keep out global competition, and implement expensive non-tariff barriers to make market access unnecessarily difficult. Fortunately, not all hope is lost. Thanks to a newly implemented continent-wide trade deal, there is a real chance for the region's overall level of economic freedom to reach all-time highs. The African Continental Free Trade Area was implemented by the African Union in 2021. Among other things, the AFCFTA aims to remove more than 97% of tariffs on all goods traded between African states within 12 years. For many of the more developed African states, at least 90% of all tariffs will be scrapped by 2026. The World Bank has estimated that by 2035, the increased economic liberalization brought about by the AFCFTA will add roughly $450 billion to Africa's income, lift 30 million people out of extreme poverty, and boost wages for both men and women by 9 to 10%. So far, a staggering 43 of the 55 African Union states have ratified the trade area. Ultimately, despite sub-Saharan Africa's recent decline in economic freedom, having the majority of states committed to a broad-sweeping free trade area shows that liberalization may yet have a bright future across the region. To buck the trend of declining economic freedom, it is crucial that the opportunity of the AFCFTA is realized. If it is, hundreds of millions of Africans will experience greater prosperity than ever before. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow the IATP on Twitter at @the_IATP. Also, hit the like and subscribe button below, and check out our website at www.theiatp.org.